Hello guys, good evening to all of you, my dear students. Very good evening to all of you. So today we are going to discuss another important topic of research, which is hypothesis, right? So guys, last time we discussed, previous lecture was research problems, okay? So I show you the syllabus, right? So this is the M.Ed class, okay? You can see the syllabus. This paper 1 and paper 4 are going on. First I'm discussing the paper 4 because paper 4 is a new to you, right guys? So that's why I'm focusing on this unit 1 and unit 2. Okay, you can see that whatever I have finished, so I'm doing as a red color, right? Unit 1, meaning, nature, sources, educational research, types of research. Then second, formulation of research problem, criteria, sources, review of related literature. Today we are discussing the unit 2 hypothesis, right? So hypothesis, meaning, characteristics, and these all things we will discuss today, right guys? Right? This we are discussing. Okay. So I'm going to close this PPT and starting today's lecture, hypothesis, right? So, okay, everyone. So, under this topic, we will understand concept and meaning of hypothesis, nature, types of hypothesis, formulation of hypothesis, and characteristics of good hypothesis. Okay. After this, we will discuss the sampling. Okay. In the next Sunday, we will discuss the sampling. Okay. Then 2 units would be finished, right? And I have already, given you the notes of these 2 units, right? So prepare side by side because it is a new topic for you. Okay, guys? So first we understand concept and meaning of hypothesis, right? What is hypothesis basically? So guys, hypothesis is a statement, assumption about relationship between variables. Okay. So here we have to understand what is hypothesis and why we make hypothesis. Okay. Because I have already told you this topic, research. Okay. We are discussing the research paper. So all topics are interlinked, right? You cannot understand this topic if you don't have knowledge of the previous one. Okay. So first we discuss the research and types of research. Then second, we discuss the review of related literature. Then we discuss the research problems. Now we discussing the hypothesis. So under this lecture, we have to understand, about the hypothesis, types of hypothesis, and the most importantly, why we construct hypothesis, why we make hypothesis. Okay. So I have given you one example. I have added one PPT of with the example. Okay. So first we understand about hypothesis. Hypothesis basically एक supposition है. Hypothesis एक assumption है. Okay. You assume but yet to be proved. Okay. We have to prove later on. Okay. But we are hypothesizing कि this thing, it would be happen. We are making the hypothesis of particular, research topic. Okay. So hypothesis is a tentative explanation for certain behaviors, phenomena, or events that have occurred or will occur. Okay. The concept is will occur. Okay. Now we will understand why we construct the hypothesis. Okay. First understand the hypothesis. Now, again, hypothesis is an assumption about relations between variables and can be empirical tested. Okay. Next, you can see hypothesis is an idea or explanation for something that is based on known facts, but has not yet been proved. Okay. And, in the bottom, you can see, 2 research topics. The name of the topics. One is awareness of a rights among women in rural areas, and what impact does daily use of a Facebook have on the so it is written in the last study attentions of under 90s, right? So guys, these two statements, two research topics, research problems, okay, you have to keep in mind, because this thing we will discuss up to the end. Okay guys, give me 1 second. So okay, now we have come to know about the hypothesis. Hypothesis, basically it is an assumption, it is an supposition, okay, and which is to be tested, not tested yet. Okay, so next we talk about again little bit more about the hypothesis. Hypothesis is an assumption about relations between variables. Okay, next, hypothesis is a tentative explanation of research problem or guess about the research outcome. This is important one. Okay, one more thing you can add. Hypothesis is a statement, hypothesis is a supposition which yet to be tested, and hypothesis can be a guess about the research outcome. Okay, we are not sure what would happen. Whatever we are making the hypothesis, whether they would be accepted or rejected, we never know in the starting. This is the starting phase of the dissertation of the your problem, right? That's why it is written. It is a tentative explanation of the research problem or a guess about the research outcome. Again, third one, each research hypothesis contains an independent variable and a dependent variable. Okay, you must know about the dependent and independent variable. Okay, number 4, if there is only one variable in any statement, can't be called the research hypothesis. Huh? Last time we discussed that. If you know that under the research problem. Okay. If whenever we have to make the research problem, देखो research problem, research topic, these are same thing. Okay. Research study. Okay. But if you write any of the statement, any of the statement can't be the research topic. So that's why it is written, if there is only one variable in any statement, can't be called research hypothesis. And if there are two dependent variable in any statement, number 5th is, and there is a no independent variable, not called the research hypothesis. Okay. So further in the next slide, we understand the nature of hypothesis. Nature of hypothesis is it must be accurately reflect the relevant sociological fact. Hypothesis should specify variables between which the relationship is to be established, must consider the experience of other researchers. And in last, we can say that hypothesis can't be described as true or false. Once you have, construct the hypothesis, then you work on the hypothesis. And in the last, after you finishing your research dissertation, you will come to know whatever the hypothesis you have constructed, it is accepted or rejected. It does not, effect on that. That's why hypothesis can't be described as a true or false. Okay. Your hypothesis, whatever you have taken, they can be true or they can be false. They can be accepted, they can be rejected in the last. Okay, when you collect the data from the student and interpret the result, okay, and then you come to know that whatever you have you have taken the hypothesis, you have made the hypothesis, it is incorrect, it is rejected. Okay, so it does not affect. Hypothesis can't be described as true or false. They can only be relevant or irrelevant of the research topic. Okay, that you will come to know about this is the conclusion of your study in the last. Okay, guys. Okay, now we understand some of the types of hypothesis. Okay, number 1 is a simple hypothesis. Okay, ये सारे research hypothesis हैं. Okay, one is simple hypothesis. A simple hypothesis is a statement made to reflect the relations between exactly two variables, one independent and one dependent. Okay. So see the example. Smoking is a prominent cause of lung cancer. Okay. Right. Read again. Smoking is a prominent cause of lung cancer. Here in this research topic, research statement, there are two variables. One is smoking and second is lung cancer. Okay. Here, guys, you have to identify, okay, you have to develop your research aptitude. Smoking is an independent variable because smoking is affecting on lung cancer, na, right? That's why lung cancer is a dependent variable, right? So now you have come to know what is a dependent and what is an independent variable, right? Independent variable effect on the dependent variables. Okay. So the dependent variable, okay, next line, you can read that. The dependent variable, lung cancer, is dependent on the independent variable, which is a smoking. Okay. So this is a simple hypothesis. Okay. Second is a complex hypothesis. Okay. Some of the research statements, research topics, research problems, research hypotheses are the complex hypotheses where you have to, in contrast to the simple hypothesis, a complex hypothesis implies the relationship between multiple independent and dependent variables. See the example. Individuals who eat more fruits tend to have higher immunity, lesser cholesterol, and high metabolism. Now here the independent variable is eating more fruits. Okay. So if you are eating more fruits, so then resulting on, depending on variables are higher immunity, lesser cholesterol, and high metabolism. Okay. So what is happening in this statement? In this statement, you are going to establish that by eating a more fruits, यही है ना, by eating a more fruits, so then the result would be the higher immunity, lesser cholesterol, and the high metabolism. Okay. And in such type of a statement, research hypothesis, which is called the complex hypothesis, you are establishing a multiple independent and dependent variables. Okay, guys. Okay. Third is a directional hypothesis. Okay. Now understand the directional hypothesis. Simple is done, complex is done. Third is a directional hypothesis. A directional hypothesis is also known as a one-tailed hypothesis. Okay. Is formulated with the specific predicted directions of the relationship between variables. It indicates an expectations of the relationship being either positive or negative. So number first, directional hypothesis is a one-tailed hypothesis. Means either they will talk about, lower side or upper side. Okay. But at a one side, one-tailed hypothesis. Okay. Again, the directional hypothesis in the second paragraph, the directional hypothesis is often used when there is a prior knowledge or theoretical reasoning supporting the predicted directions of the relationship. It allows researchers to make more specific predictions and draw conclusion based on the expected directions of the effect. See the example. I have given the example so that, you will come to know the concept very clearly. Okay. See the example. For example, a directional hypothesis might state that increased physical activity will lead to decrease in body weight. Happens na? Okay, when we start physical activity, naturally, decreasing the body weight. So here the researcher expects a negative relationship between the physical activity and body weight. Right? Negative है ना, decrease हो रहा है. Okay, body weight is decreasing. Okay, but either one side. Okay, this is called directional hypothesis. Okay, next is non-directional hypothesis. You know what happens under the non-directional hypothesis? Under a non-directional hypothesis, first of all, it is called the two-tailed hypothesis. It does not make a specific prediction about the directions of the relationship between variables. Well, they don't talk about the lower side and higher side. Okay. Instead, it states that there is a relationship. Okay. There is a relationship, but without indicating that whether it would be positive side or negative side. Example say you will come to know. Okay. First, I'm just discussing the meaning of that. Okay. Non-directional hypotheses are often used when there is a insufficient prior knowledge or theoretical basis to predict the directions of the relationship. Example of a non-directional hypothesis are, for example, a non-directional hypothesis might state that, okay, which is it is a inverted commas, there is a relationship between caffeine consumption and reaction time. Naturally, if you are taking a more caffeine, there would be a reaction. Okay, but here the researcher expects a relationship between the variables. If such type of a statements comes in front of the researcher, okay, he will only predict that there is a relationship, but does not specify the direction. So such type of hypotheses are called the non-directional hypothesis. Okay. So why you are, come to know that these all types of a hypothesis, so that guys, when you will start your topic, when you will make your dissertations, you should have each and everything in mind beforehand. Because last you have to work on the 1.5 years or 2 years in your M.Ed course, you have to make the dissertation. In the last, you can't change because the time would be wasted, energy would be wasted, everything would be wasted. Okay. So you should have a sound knowledge of RM, research methodology, while you are selecting your topic. Okay. So, these all things, okay, you will come to know. Because of that, you should have basis. You should have a good base, so that later on you should not have any kind of difficulty, right guys? So you will come to know that simple hypothesis, complex hypothesis, non-directional, directional hypothesis. Okay, now whenever you will make your statement, when you will start your research work, okay, so you will take care of each and everything, right guys? Next we discuss the null hypothesis. Okay. And some more example of a directional and non-directional hypothesis. Okay, you can see that directional hypothesis, for example, the achievement in mathematics of boys is higher that too of girls. Okay. Yes statement, it has come in front of you. Okay, you will come to know that now this is a directional hypothesis because it is talking about achievement in mathematics is higher. Hai. If it comes is lesser, so then it is again a directional hypothesis. ये देखो note, under a note I have written directional means higher or lower can be only one direction. Okay, next देखो non directional hypothesis की example है, there is a significant difference between the achievement in mathematics of boys and girls. Difference तो है, different exists. Okay, but ये नहीं पता either upper side है या lower side है. Okay, so this is an example of a non-directional hypothesis. Okay, for example, again second example देखिए, there will be a difference in the performance of girls and boys. Difference तो है, but we never know whether boys are boys having the better performance or girls having the better performance. We don't know. So not defining the what kind of a difference. So such kind of a hypotheses are called the non-directional hypothesis, right? Guys, next we talk about the null hypothesis. This is also the most important hypothesis, type of a hypothesis. Okay, null hypothesis is reverse of the research hypothesis. Whatever hypothesis we have discussed now, simple, complex, directional, non-directional, or bhi hote hain, right? 1 or 2 types are more. Okay, but this is in your syllabus. That's why we have discussed 4 or 5. So now we are discussing the null hypothesis. As the name suggested, null hypothesis is a reverse of the research hypothesis. Immediately reverse hote hain. It talks about null, no. It is a hypothesis of a no relationship. Okay. Null hypotheses do not exist in reality, but are used to test research hypotheses. This is a very important line. Read again. Research hypothesis is a hypothesis of a no relationship. Null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is a hypothesis of a no relationship. Null hypotheses do not exist in reality, but are used to test the research hypothesis. Okay, means whatever your statement now, whatever your research problem you have specified. Okay, whatever your problem. So guys, there is a need to make the null hypothesis, and you have to work whole of the 2 years on your null hypothesis. Okay, so why you create a null hypothesis? Because of test the research hypothesis. Okay, again, I have given the example. From the example, it would be clear. Okay, I have given the example. Okay, further, a null hypothesis proposes no relationship between two variables denoted by H naught. Okay, and your research hypothesis either can be a simple, complex, directional, non-directional. It is represented, denoted by H1. Okay, and there is a need to make a null hypothesis because to test the research hypothesis. Okay, example of a null hypothesis again. There is a no difference in the level of intelligence of boys and girls, right? Because no relationship. Okay, this is the example of a null hypothesis. Okay, null hypothesis, called the null hypothesis, statistical hypothesis, or a hypothesis of a negation, also denoted by H naught. Null hypothesis is a research hypothesis to be tested. If H naught, last line देखिए, if H naught null hypothesis is accepted, then H1 is rejected. Whatever your statement now, it is rejected. If null hypothesis is accepted in the last, okay, after getting the data from the student, after interpreting the result, you will come to know that whatever the null hypothesis you have taken, that it is going to be accepted, then your research topic would be rejected. And if the null hypothesis is rejected, then your research topic would be accepted. Okay, अब next slide में example देखो. Okay, you will come to know that. Okay, concept would be more clear. अब ये देखिए. Okay, एक example है, right? This is your research problem. Okay, क्या है research problem? What is the statement of the problem? Academic achievement of high school students in relations to their home environment. Okay, absolutely correct. This is a research statement. This is a problem. Okay, you are going to study whole of the 2 years in a M.Ed course, right? You can say that this is a research statement because it is talking about the two variables, academic achievement, talking about home environment, talking about high school students. Okay, those are adolescents. Okay, so it is a good problem, right? By seeing the topic, anyone can say that if having the knowledge of a research, this is a good topic, right? Now you have to study what is your problem, what is your research topic, what is your research hypothesis. Academic achievement of high school students in relations to their home environment. Okay, you have to study the whether high school students, academic achievement of a high school students, whether it is impact on home environment, impact on academic achievement of a high school students or not. Basically, this is your study. Okay, so guys, you don't directly work on this research hypothesis. Okay, academic achievement of a high school students in relations to their home environment, you directly work on this research hypothesis. There is a need to construct the null hypothesis first. Okay, so next you can see the example. 5 null hypotheses I have constructed because of testing the main research hypothesis, which is academic achievement of a high school students in relations to their home environment. Okay, what would be the hypothesis of my study? It can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5. Okay, depending. ये देखो, hypothesis of the study which is to be tested by the researcher. Who are researcher? You are the researcher, M.Ed students. Okay, so first hypothesis you have constructed. There is no significant difference between the academic achievement of a urban and rural high school students. ओके, सो वो तो आपका टॉपिक हो गया. नाउ व्हाट यू आर एस्टैब्लिशिंग between the urban and rural high school student, there is a no significant difference. Second is, there is no significant difference between the home environment of a urban and rural high school student, right? Well, from that way you will study. Third is, there is no significant difference between the academic achievement of a high school students on the basis of a gender, which is a male and female. Fourth one, you will construct, there is no significant difference between the home environment of a high school students on the basis of gender, means between male and female. And last, okay, you check the relationship. There is a no significant difference in relationship between the academic achievement and home environment among high school students. Okay, so guys, basically whole of the 2 years and whole of the 70, 80 or 100 pages, you write, you test, actually you have to work on these 5 null hypotheses, right? So why? Basically you are working on these 5 null hypotheses in order to prove the your research hypothesis, which is H1, and which is academic achievement of a high school student in relations to their home environment, right? So in a simple sense, you have to understand, whatever the topic you make, research topic you make, there is a need to make a null hypothesis, and whole of the 2 years you work on that null hypothesis. And when after working all these, when your null hypothesis comes as a accepted, then your research hypothesis would be rejected. And if your null hypothesis come rejected, then your main research hypothesis would be accepted. Okay, so what you will do that, okay, next you will do that, you will find a one questionnaire, which is a standardized questionnaire, okay, which talks about academic achievement and the home environment, right? Then after that, what you will do that, you will select the sample, okay, high school student, adolescents of some like convent schools and rural schools, government schools, okay, you will go over there, you will give the questionnaire to them, okay, they will select the question, they will answer, you will come back as in the home, then you will interpret the result. After interpreting the result, you will test these all 5 null hypotheses in order to test your research hypothesis. Okay, that's why we create the null hypothesis. Okay, up now, whenever we have to make the null hypothesis, which things we have to make in your mind, which things we have to keep in our mind, this is called the formulations of hypothesis. Okay, when there is a need of a formulating a hypothesis, actually guys, there are no particular precise or standardized rule for formulating the hypothesis and deducing the consequences, but there are some challenges, difficulties that arise in formulating the hypothesis. Okay, defining the variable, you should have in-depth knowledge of that variable. Okay, naturally, review of related literature, when you will study, then you will come to know in-depth knowledge. That's why in a review of related literature we have discussed before this topic. Then specify the nature of relationship, identify research problem, make sure variables are testable, avoid judgmental words, right? So such kind of a word you have to avoid that. Okay, make sure that variables are the testable. Okay, so these all things you have to keep in your mind beforehand. Be sure that each term in your hypothesis is clearly understood and defined. Know that your hypothesis may change over time as your research progress. Okay, so these all the knowledge you should have in your mind. Then you formulate the hypothesis. Means from that statement, which is your research statement, academic achievement of a high school students in relations to their home environment, you formulate these kind of all. So this becomes your study. Okay, so you work on this. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for this topic. The last is, what are the characteristics of a good hypothesis? The characteristics of a good hypothesis, that hypothesis should be simple so that it is easily understood by everyone. Right? ये देखो जैसे it is a simple ना, you can see that. Hypothesis, right? Simple hypothesis. Hypothesis should be capable of being tested. Right? See the hypothesis. Okay. And from the one statement, we have constructed a 5 hypothesis, and each and every, it is a very accurate, understandable. We can test that, right? And third is, hypothesis should be state relationship between variables. It must be actually explain what it claims to explain. Kya baat hai? Very good line. It must actually explain what it claims to explain. Guarantee is that available tools and techniques will be effectively used for the purpose of verification. Right? Tools and techniques means standardized uh, questionnaires. Okay, you should have to test the academic achievement of high school students in relations to their home environment. Okay, must explain the facts that gave rise to the need for explanations. Okay, this is the characteristics of a hypothesis. Thank you so much, guys. So we have come to know that, you know, all the point, which is a very much important concept and meaning of a hypothesis, nature of hypothesis, types of hypothesis, formulations and characteristics of a hypothesis, right, guys? So thank you so much for this. So now you can see that, okay, so we have finished hypothesis also. And, you know, already I have given you the notes, okay? So I'm directly opening the notes, right? You can see that, okay, so already first, second and third we have discussed, okay. First is a educational research, okay. Second is a review of related literature. This one, review of related literature, already we are done. Third is a research problem, okay. Research problem, okay. Last lecture I took as a research problem. Now today I finished the hypothesis, fourth one, okay. Next week we will discuss the sampling, right? So guys, you can learn from here hypothesis. ये देखिए, it is going to be started from, you know, it is a fourth one hypothesis. Okay. So this is the hypothesis, right? Okay. ये देखो, hypothesis is an idea or explanations for something that is based on the known facts but has not yet been proved. Okay. We have discussed. Okay. तो ये nature of a hypothesis, ये सारे के सारे, these are the nature of a hypothesis, right? So, right, we have used in the PPT also. Characteristics of a good hypothesis, right? This is the characteristics of a good hypothesis. Okay, then types of hypothesis. ये देखो, research hypothesis, directional, non-directional, simple, complex, directional, null hypothesis, right? ये सारे आगे null hypothesis. Then formulations of a hypothesis. So when you have to formulate which things you have to keep in mind: defining variable, study in depth variable. ये देखो, specify the nature of relationship, identify study populations, make sure variables are testable, avoid judgmental word, this all thing. Okay, so ये आपका last preparing a research proposal. Yeah, I think it is not syllabus in the syllabus. So ये fourth one is completed, right? Importance and significance of hypothesis, last one. ठीक है, ये सारे significance and importance. Okay. Only the, you know, last one is sampling is left of 2 units. Okay, 2 units would be completed, each and everything, right? So you start learning, you know, side by side. Okay, for this paper. Okay, this is a new for you. That's why I have started first. Okay, rest of the paper, education psychology, research, education psychology, education and others, you have already done in the B.Ed also. So, you know, we will cover, you know, very fastly, right? Very swiftly, those 3 papers, right? First paper I have already started with this. So I'm giving the emphasis on the fourth one because this is a new for you, right, guys? So thank you so much once again for this topic. Thank you, guys.